যদি সবাই ফিরে যায়, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায়, যদি গহন পথে যাওয়ার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায়, তবে পথের কাটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে। যদি আলো না ধরে, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা আলো না ধরে, যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে, তবে বজ্রা নলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে। একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো রে।
Hi guys, thank you for joining the live stream. Today on College Street, Kolkata, we have with us a very special guest, Mr. S. Devarajan, a veteran of India's technology industry. He's the former managing director and CEO of Tata Elxsi, where he led one of the most remarkable turnarounds in Indian corporate history, taking the company from deep losses to becoming a global leader in engineering design and technology services. He later went on to play a key role in building Cisco Systems, largest R&D center outside the United States, helping scale India into a global technology hub. His new book, Designed to Win, the link for which is given in the description box, tells a fascinating inside story of how Tata Elxsi survived near collapse and reinvented itself through strategy, design thinking, and bold decisions. Today we'll talk about leadership, innovation, India's tech journey, and the lessons from one of the most interesting corporate transformations in the Tata Group, as well as his childhood in Kolkata. Thanks a lot, sir, for joining the podcast.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for hosting me this evening.
Thank you, sir. So you grew up in Kolkata. First of all, tell us about your life in Kolkata, because most of our viewers are from Bengal.
Oh, wonderful. So my life in Kolkata, I actually lived for 0 to 25 years of my life in Kolkata. And my father was working in the railways. So I wouldn't say Kolkata, we were living in a suburb called Lilua.
Okay.
It's one station from Howrah. That's where we had the railway colony. And I went to school there, Don Bosco School. And subsequently I went to IIT Kharagpur, not too far from Kolkata.
Right.
So childhood days in Kolkata, very memorable. Even today when I get back to Kolkata, everybody says, how do you like this city? You know, it's all so filthy, it is so dirty and so crowded. I said, Baba, Kolkata is not a city, it's a way of life. So once you enjoy the way of life, you love Kolkata.
Yes.
So
sir,
that is my experience.
Yes, sir,
I still have very close friends, right from my second standard, third standard, school friends who live in Kolkata. And we meet quite often, either in Kolkata or outside. So that connect is extremely strong.
Right. Which school did you go to? Which school, which
Don
college?
Bosco, I said.
Don Bosco. Oh, so
no?
up till IFSC.
And তারপরে I went to
college?
IIT Kharagpur. IIT Kharagpur.
Oh, I see. So you are probably fluent in Bengali, right?
I don't want to get walloped, but my Bengali is better than my Tamil.
Oh, nice. Then, sir, I think we should do one podcast discussing your book in Bengali as well, because there are not many like you who would be available to do Bengali podcasts.
Yeah, I don't know how.
We will reconnect.
Good, I will be. Okay, we will do that.
It's going to be. Yes, sir.
খুব ভালো হবে আমাকে বাংলায় কথা বলতে. Let's see how it goes.
Yes, sir. So, how did you first get into the fascinations with electronics?
See, my father was a telecommunications engineer in the railways, and railways was enhancing its telecom, microwave, and all those kind of things. And my father was involved in all those things. And more than anything else, he was also an electronics hobbyist. He used to repair radios, amplifiers, and all that. And I also started very young at home. Under his guidance, I started making my first radio when I was in class 8. Then I started
I
making
see.
stereo amplifiers and
Yeah.
became an electronics hobbyist. And obviously, when I went to college, I continued.
Right.
So that is how my interest in electronics and later on high technology came into being. I think, yeah.
Right. How was your life at IIT Kharagpur? What life lessons did you
Beautiful.
get at IIT Kharagpur?
Amazing lessons. I would say IIT Kharagpur is not a place where you do academics. It's a place where you get educated. It's a place where you become a man, from a schoolboy to a man. And because it is so isolated from any major metro, like unlike other IITs which are in Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai, and all that,
Yes.
we are far away from the metro. So we had to entertain ourselves. That was the only means. You couldn't go anywhere. So because of that, we were all very close friends, and you make very strong, solid friendships, and you organize various things in the campus for the benefit of yourselves and the greater, good of the employees of the campus, the faculty in the campus, and the students.
Yeah.
So I was very fond of music and culture, and being a Calcuttan, you have to be fond of music, culture, and drama, right? So I used to organize a lot of music events, call leading artists from Kolkata. We had people like Hemant Kumar,
Oh my
Mannada,
God.
De,
I see.
Shankar, Amit Kumar, Ruma Guhat with her Calcutta Youth Choir. I used to, enjoy going to their houses, inviting them, sign up contracts with them. And
I
they
have
would come.
performed as well at Springfest. I performed in 2013
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. From which college did you represent?
with my band. It wasn't an
Oh, with your
inter-college
band.
competition.
Oh,
It was a
okay.
band competition.
Oh,
Yeah.
band competition. Oh, wonderful. So I had brought all these people in, and in the process, what happens is when you're young, when you're 18, 19 years old, you understand how to deal with professionals, and artists are
Exactly.
not very simple people to deal with, They have their own, creative kinks. So, but then I managed to deal with them, and you won't believe some of them considered me even today. If you look at the Shankar family in Kolkata, another Shankar is no more, but his wife and daughter, I'm after 50 years, I'm still very pally. When I go to
I
Kolkata,
see.
a visit to their house is mandatory. When they come to
I see.
Bangalore, they come home. So the
Oh.
relationship, I love maintaining relationships, and I think a part of my success in my career has also been because of that. And
Did you
Ruma
get
Goa
any?
Thakurta used to call me
Yes, go ahead.
her son. She used to call me her son.
Oh, okay.
And she used to call me home and come for lunch, come for dinner. I used to take a train and go all the way to Kolkata for that.
I see.
Yeah.
Did you get any leadership skills or lessons as well
So,
during your time at IIT Kharagpur?
so exactly what I'm trying to say. So all these start creating, you create those leadership skills. You learn to become a team player because you can't organize all these things alone. You need a set of people, your
Exactly.
friends, your people who are experts in different spheres. They all come together. We worked as a team to execute, So all these things matter, So it kind of, I would say, gets embedded in you, and you grow up understanding some of these skills, and you take it forward in your career later. I still
Sir,
very fondly remember at our
go
Silver
ahead.
Jubilee function of IIT Kharagpur for our convocation. We had invited Prime Minister Indira Gandhi as a chief
I
guest.
see.
And I was part of that convocation committee to manage that whole event. And I had met very closely with her, organizing the
Okay.
events. And it was a great learning for me, I learned a lot
Which
from
year
her.
was this?
This was 76.
I see. Okay.
Hmm.
And was networking amongst your colleagues or other students as important back then?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, like I said, we only had ourselves to entertain ourselves. And, we had formed a nice, our hostel, they're called halls over there. It was
Yeah.
we had a nice hall band, music band. And we used to do
Okay.
fusion music and all that those
I
days.
see.
And again, it's all team playing, right? So
Yeah.
everybody has a role to play. Otherwise, the music doesn't come out. No?
Yeah.
You get cacophony.
So, sir,
So it was great fun.
yeah. Yeah. So, sir, when you joined Tata Elxsi in the 1990s, it was on the verge of bankruptcy, right? So, what were they doing wrong, and how did you turn them around?
So, it's a very long story, but I can abridge it for you. This was a company originally founded in the US. Elxsi Corporation was the first computer company founded by an Indian in California, in North America. And it was very high technology computing that they used to do. And the Tatas were interested in that technology. And they actually, it was the first investment by Tatas into a non-Indian company. Those days, venture capital, we are talking about early, mid 80s. And one of the agreements actually was to bring the technology to India via Singapore. So when the technology came to India, the company was brought to India. By then, Elxsi Corporation over there had to fold up for various reasons. The technology started becoming obsolete, competition became strong, funding was hard to come by, and Elxsi over there had to shut down. So we had brought a product and technology which was still state of the art in India, but it was not something which would work in the long run here. So for all that, we had to make humongous investments to bring it here, and we had to raise capital to bring to do those investments. And net, what happened was we were in deep losses because of all the investments we had made, and the computer company or the computer systems were already obsolete because they were not being made there anymore. So it was a no-brainer, and this company was deeply in the red, no profits, no revenues, and nothing to sell. So we had to reinvent our strategy. That's a time when I was invited by the chairman of Tata Elxsi, who was Mr. F.C. Kohli, who was a founder of TCS. He was the CEO and founder of TCS. And he sent a message through his office that he wanted to meet me. I was working in Hyderabad. And when I went to Mumbai and spent time with him, he said, what have you done and all that he asked me. And then finally he said, hey, listen, I want you to take and run this company and manage it and revive it because it's running into deep losses, and rebuild a strategy for this to ensure that we succeed, because the Tata company cannot be in such doldrums. And I said, can I have your support? He said, of course, I will give you support. And when a person like FC Kohli, he's a father of the IT industry in India. And when he invites you and says, why don't you join and do something, you cannot, not accept that invitation. So that's how I came aboard. And we started doing things which were very different from other IT companies in India, because we were already lagging behind a lot. There were other companies, Wipro, Infosys, TCS were already growing. And if I had to do the same thing that those guys were doing, then we would be far behind. We'll be left very behind in the race. So I said, let's do something that nobody else is doing. And I remember there was a CEO's conference which was called for by Mr. Ratan Tata. He used to call every year for a strategic meeting of all the 80, 90 CEOs of Tata companies, and for 2 days. And his opening address in that meeting, he said, hey guys, listen, we must pull up our bootstraps as Tata companies. Let's have one mantra. We should be either number one or number two in the business that we are doing, or not be there. So that hit me very hard as a message. So I said, this is something Tata Elxsi has to do. We have to do something which others are not doing. Then only can you be number one or number two. And so we started restructuring and re-strategizing our company and our vision and our business to get into fields of technology which are very niche, like engineering design, animation, visual effects, simulation for aerospace and defense, and molecular modeling for pharma industry. Those kind of things we started doing. And we had no competition. and we were number
Yeah.
one and number two in the business. And even today, 30 years later, Tata Elxsi still continues to share that vision. We still are doing the same business, and we still are number one, number two in the business.
Right. Sir, you worked with Prime Focus as well, who later acquired DNEG and today are a 8-time Oscar-winning company and are producing the upcoming Ramayana movie as well. So,
Yeah.
how did you
No, I
or
didn't
your
work.
company? Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
How did you?
How
or your
did Tata
company?
Elxsi play a part in India's VFX revolution as well?
So that time it was animation. Okay, there was no
Right,
VFX is just coming in. Jurassic Park
Exactly.
was the first VFX company, movie.
Hmm.
So I looked at that as an opportunity and said, India is one of the largest movie makers in the world. Bigger than Hollywood, and Hollywood is doing animation. Hollywood has just started doing VFX. So why not create that opportunity for Indian movie makers, ad film makers, the TV industry, which was already mature, and we looked at appropriate software and hardware to bring that solution in. So if you look at in Mumbai, we created UTV, Prime Focus, Western Outdoor, Reliance Media Works. All these were our incubation. TV18 in Delhi, Prasad Productions in Chennai, Ramoji Film City, Annapurna Studios. All the first 15 or 20 animation studios were all founded by us, I would say, with them as investors. And the relationship that I maintained with these companies was so good. When I started doing my own consulting, the founder and CEO of Prime Focus called me one day, said, Dave, you have been instrumental in creating us, giving birth to us, and why don't you join our board, and be with us? So I'm still on the board of last 8 years. I'm on the board of Prime Focus DNEG.
I see. Great. Do you? This is a fanboy question. Do you get to meet Namit Malhotra every now and then?
Yeah, whenever we have board meetings, I meet him.
Oh,
Yeah.
fascinating.
His father also, father is also very illustrious. Naresh Malhotra is a movie maker.
Yeah.
He's made a lot of Amitabh movies and all that those days.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a fun person.
So, sir,
even he.
Yeah. When you started with playing around with these technologies in the early 90s, and from then to now, what has the progress been like? Are you satisfied with the progress that we have made as a society, or are you disappointed with the lack of progress?
No, I think we have made good headway in all these technologies that I'm talking about. And even today, like I said, the charter of Tata Elxsi has still been on the same 4 pillars of business that we talked about. We were doing engineering design for automotive companies then. Today, Tata Elxsi is doing EVs, autonomous vehicles, and very high-end electronics for automotive devices, And we started working with ISRO and Indian Air Force on the Tejas simulator then. Today, they are working on Gaganyaan and all that, So things have progressed very well. And what I love is they've just maintained the strategy, maintained the vision, and not derailed themselves, even today. Yeah.
Right. So we have an interesting question from the audience. Does the current India have the ecosystem required to give birth to a global giant like Tata Elxsi? California back then and still today is giving birth to cutting-edge innovations.
Oh, yes. The opportunities today are fantastic. You have very bright people, young people today. Earlier, all the bright young people were all moving away, running away to the US. Today, many of them are doing startups in India. And money is not difficult to come by in India today. There are a lot of investors coming in, VCs coming in. You can create multiple Tata Elxsis today.
I see.
Yeah,
so,
the opportunity is there.
How much of jobs will be taken away by AI versus created by AI in this particular field?
So nothing has been taken away by any technology in the last 5 decades. Every revolution in technology has created only more jobs. they create more jobs, they create different jobs. Okay.
Right.
Way back when I started my career, we started getting into computerization as a big thing in this country. And I was working in Kolkata. And you know how Kolkata is very defiant. They said, we introduce computers, we'll all lose our jobs. And the labor union and all used to be up in arms. But then what happened? The IT industry, computer industry created more jobs than ever. Look at the number of software engineers in India today.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. Same thing with AI. What happens is the routine jobs that people are doing today may become redundant. But the same people have to relearn and do something which is very different. No? So AI will not take away jobs. They will create a lot more jobs, I think, because to implement AI and the tools thereof and the IT infrastructure that is required to run it is humongous. There'll be high spends on IT infrastructure, high spends on requirement of people to develop, implement AI, not one, put on a switch and AI comes there. So much of homework to be done, so much of development to be done, so much of implementation to be done before you can say, yes, we have AI implemented. For that, you need lots of people. So whatever people are doing routinely as computer programmers is not required. You have to do higher level work today. Yeah.
Yes.
Like in everywhere else. Na?
I do see that AI is taking away the jobs of anybody with a mediocre job profile. The best in the business are still, I think, not threatened by AI.
I would beg to differ. It's nothing to do with mediocre. It is that you need a certain layer of people. They are not mediocre. They are very important to an organization, without which those programs will not be there.
Yes,
So
exactly.
testing of those programs won't happen if you don't have that layer of people. But those people will become somebody else tomorrow. Just that.
They'll have to.
Yeah. Like when we were in college, they introduced calculators, scientific calculators. And the moment they introduced scientific calculators, we started doing something more. Now we said, okay, all this multiplication, division, and all that we don't have to do anymore. The calculator will do it for you. I can go one level higher and do things on top of that.
Yeah, so many typewriters, typists lost their jobs outside Jadavpur University when computers came in.
Correct. All they have to do is learn the computers and they're there. No?
We have an even better question from the same person now. What is the trait of these ecosystems that gives birth to these giants? What should Kolkata as an ecosystem need to learn from an economic and policy point of view? What separates us from California or Bengaluru?
Nothing. I think the ecosystem is there, and people have to think creatively. So, moment you have to, say, do a startup or do something new in technology or product, you have to think creatively first. What do I want to do, and how different should it be? Is there competition for me? How can I be ahead of competition if there is? How can I have a product which nobody else has? These are things that you have to brainstorm. Once I do that, then I have an idea which can be incubated, which can be ideated, which can develop itself to a product or a service. Need not be product, could be a service also, which is very different. And what is there? Whether you're in Kolkata or Bangalore or California, today the world has become very flat. Earlier people were going to California because you had latest technology available there. Today in India, you get latest technology. Kolkata is not deprived of technology. It is not deprived of people. You have the one of the top 3 or 4 engineering colleges in Kolkata itself. You have BE College, Jadavpur. This is the oldest one. Kharagpur is there. And I don't know, there may be a few more now. And you have management schools. And what more do you want? That whole ecosystem is available. And your tech park near Salt Lake and that Science City and all that is amazing here. Yeah. Mindset.
So
mindset has to change.
True. Yeah. So you are a big proponent of not following what others do and leading instead and letting others follow you. But how do you know when to push through what you are facing challenges in, and versus when you should actually pivot to a different profession or work altogether? How do you make the difference?
See, one is somewhere, one hunch kind of thing happens to you,
Yeah.
Shall we try this? So that is the first, bulb that flashes in your head. Why not say, why not animation? Like let me get back to Roots example of Tata Elxsi, can we get into the
Yes.
animation market? Then you look at statistics. Oh, how many movies do we make? If 10% of the movie, the 2% of the movies incorporate some kind of animation, there'll be enough business for at least 20 companies to do. Will they get into that field? Then you say, okay, answer to that is why not? If there's an opportunity, if there's a service available, why won't they do animation and effects? It adds value to their own product, their own movie. Then you say, okay, if I have 10 animation studios in this country, who will run it? I have to create a training infrastructure. I may provide a
I see.
computer and a software, but people have to run it. No? So impart that. So you're not only creating a product which is state of the art, you have to create that ecosystem around it. I have to have trained people to run it. My producer of the movie should start thinking like that. Suppose I introduce 2 minutes of animation, then what happens?
Yeah.
No, we've all seen, I'm coming back to the example of Jurassic Park. Reason is it was a one top class special effects movie, first of its kind. You know how many minutes of special effects and animation that movie had? Say it's a 2.5 hour movie or 2 hour movie. Can you guess?
No.
8 minutes. The whole movie, you think it is full of this and that and animation and effects, but it had
A lot
only
of it
8
was
minutes.
practical effects. Yes.
No, you think, because it is getting plugged in at different points in the movie.
Yeah, special effects
So
were
you think it is
fused
always
with
a
practical effects really well.
practical thing. And your mind is always remembering that only.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
not the normal people walking around. Your mind is always
Yes.
thinking of the effects that you saw and it's sustaining right through the movie. So you think the full movie is full of effects. There's only 8 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Even the lighting of the animated dinosaurs was really groundbreaking for that time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sir, why did India miss the hardware manufacturing boom?
See, we were doing hardware manufacturing earlier till 1990. Say, take IT, there were companies like Wipro, HCL, DCM, all these ECIL, they were all making computer systems in India. Every state had an electronics corporation making computer systems. Take FMCG goods. We were making our own brand of washing machines, refrigerators, of course, cars, but nothing to write home about. But then in 1992, the economy opened up. That's the time people suddenly realized I can get state-of-the-art stuff into India instead of spending time on manufacturing.
I see.
So the Japanese, the Koreans, and a little bit of the Europeans came here. And we said, okay, I can get the best TV in the world. I can get the best cars in the world, So all that started coming in and we lost the bus. We lost the bus because everything was freely importable. And then what happened?
Yeah.
Now the cycle is turning around and we said, okay, we have to invest into self-reliance because threat of some countries are there on us. So why can't we begin again? So we started in the right note, in the right step we have taken. And I only hope that it succeeds the same way as the software industry.
Sir, I have heard, I think, legitimate and let's say, believable opinions on both sides of this argument. A lot of industry leaders and economists believe that we have missed that manufacturing bus and now give up on it. Let's just focus all our resources and energy and attention only on services. Which side of the argument are you on? Should we still bother about getting into manufacturing heavily?
Yes, for more than one reason. One is India is a very large consumption market. Okay, you look at the population of this country and the industry and all that. There is when do you source in and not do locally? When you find that the market is not big enough here, I rather import. No, here the market is big enough. So why not in-source? So,
Yeah.
and the way we are doing it also, we are getting into the semicon industry first. Semicon, and then, the ancillaries will come. So a semiconductor chip, if you manufacture, if I have to create a product with that, there has to be a lot of subsystems that go in along with the semiconductor. The components will be there, plastics will be there, power supplies will be there. All that has to be packaged into the product. So there'll be a bottom up supply chain will start building up once the semiconductor is done.
Yes.
Then on top of that, the products will start coming up. And it's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be day after tomorrow. It's going to take time. See, if you take China, how many years they've taken to become a outstanding expert in that field of hardware manufacture.
Yeah,
Take
about
India,
4
it has taken us
decades.
30 years. India has taken 30 years to say we are the software gurus of the world, right?
Yeah.
So we are coming back to hardware manufacturing now. It may not take 4 decades now because we know the learning is easier when other people have done it. We can outsource experts to help us, companies to come and help us set up shop. So all that is possible. We'll accelerate. But then once you do that, you're not dependent on other countries because the consumption is big. You have to start becoming self-reliant.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Now we have way more interesting questions in the live chat as well. Why do we see so much of entrepreneurial projects in India directed towards logistics and e-commerce and almost none towards innovative fields like deep tech research and R&D?
Correct. So why is that happening? Because the returns are much faster. If I build a Flipkart equivalent tomorrow or a Swiggy or any of these guys, my returns are immediately because I have the capital investment is low. One, I don't have to invest in infrastructure. It's all human resources everywhere. The moment I have human resources as my investment, I can do things faster. So turnaround times are faster. Hardware means I have to ideate, I have to build, I have to design. Then again, for building that component of hardware, I need to import components. And then once I manufacture, then what happens to repair and test of those products? So all those conditions, people don't want to take a chance. Second, I know for sure, a lot of venture capitalists who are funding startups are all funding e-commerce and quick return projects. Not thing. I know because friends of mine are very senior venture capitalists in Bangalore,
I see.
and even multinational venture capital. They're all looking at quick returns. Secondly, I think it is important for the government to support this because government can have a longer staying power. So in Karnataka, we set up a Karnataka Semiconductor Development Fund, which was only to promote hardware product innovation in the state. It was not, we were not, and I was part of that investment committee of that fund. We just closed that fund because we exhausted all the money, but we are still monitoring those companies. Only for hardware manufacturing, we were giving money. If you come with an e-commerce proposal or a services proposal, we said, no, you go to those VCs or go to IDBI Bank or something like that. We were only supporting hardware manufacturing. And we incubated about 15 companies and most of them are doing well, actually. Yeah.
So this question might sound a little naive, but since I'm a complete outsider to this world, I'm wondering, what would it take for a venture capitalist in India to think of the long term? As since the people in USA are doing it, are their companies just that bigger, or their families are billionaires for 3-4 generations? That's why they think of the long term, and people here are first generation, second generation millionaires. That's why they don't care about long term family name, etc. that much.
No, see, long term means you should have deep pockets. See, that is one. You need to have very deep pockets. If I can fund you $10 million and forget about it for 10 years, that means I should have that much funding with me, and like that I have to fund another 10 companies. So I should have very deep pockets, and people today are looking for quick returns. That is the problem.
Can India compete with USA in this particular context? Because USA can fund anything because they'll go on printing their own money. India can't do that.
Yeah, correct. So, political reasons apart is difficult. No? For political reasons, they can do it. We can't do it. But we are not. See, 15 years back, how many startups were there in India? Nothing. And today, there are a lot of startups. Every city has startups. Not all startups are successful, which is a fact, and which is how it should be. But the number of startups that is there, the angel investor funding that is happening, that whole momentum has really grown. I'll tell you, there's my own personal assessment of this is as follows. When I graduated, and all my friends in my generation graduated from college, all our parents were all from a government service background. Those days, it was only government service or Tatas or Birlas, you know? But 90% were government service. So, government service background. So, it was not, my father was not having a very high paying job. He had a very high power position. He had, a good house, government house, perquisites. But the money coming in was very little, salaries. So, if I wanted to do a startup, then where would I go? If I needed 50 lakhs, whom will I go to? Nobody will give me money. Today, what has happened, next gen, my children, my friends' children, this ecosystem of today, all of them come from a proper corporate background, the parents. So I have seen parents saying if their child wants to do a startup, after passing out from college, they say, you go ahead, man, I'll give you 50 lakhs. Go ahead, try your luck. After 2 years, if it doesn't work, doesn't matter, you come back, we will support you, and then you can think of getting a job, or if they are affluent enough, they'll say you do one more startup. And financial institutions are also coming and helping them today. So the parental support today is far higher than the parental support of previous generation. So all that matters. See, that's all part of the ecosystem, all part of the ecosystem.
Basically, are we going to shift from a service-based economy to a manufacturing hub, and in maybe some small hubs be R&D and deep tech heavyweights?
No, we are not going to shift. We are only going to add.
Right.
So services is our mainstay today. So we're going to add to that. Why should we shift? There's no reason to shift, because whoever's doing services can't do hardware, and vice versa. So there's that is one business line which is running well. Don't touch it. So the other business line will mature and do well also tomorrow.
Leaders made a bold proclamation of being AI superpowers by 2040 or something, but is that really a viable statement when the frontrunners US and China are looking to finish the race by 2030?
It's a very statistical question, honestly. But what is going to happen is when you talk in these forums, and there's a McKinsey or one of these guys who have given this report saying, AI, these will be the AI superpowers of 2030 or 2040. But what happens is you're actually dangling that carrot, and everybody is chasing that goal of 2030 or 2040. When you're chasing a goal, 100 people are running that marathon, 10 of them will reach that goal. I have seen that happen in the IT industry also. McKinsey gives a report saying we'll be a $10 billion software economy, and many of them hit that number, So you're shown the goal, and people are running towards it.
The person is asking, are you aware of the Lodhi Mathematical Institute set up by the Lodhi family? It's the first purely private mathematical research facility in the country. But USA has thousands of them.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Lodhi Mathematical Institute, honestly. But we have very good schools. Take ISI in Kolkata, one of the finest schools for mathematics, right? And how old is that? More than 100 years old, right? Yeah. So you have schools like that. In Chennai, there's a mathematical institute, very similar. And you don't have to have a mathematical institute. All the leading universities and colleges have very strong subjects in mathematics. And mathematics is India's mainstay. I mean, that is our homegrown subject, So I don't think that is an issue at all,
Are we destined to be a market of... Yeah, go ahead.
No, and mathematics is pure mathematics. Is not everybody needs to be a pure mathematician, because if you're a scientist, you become a physicist or a chemist, and mathematical is all part and parcel of the bundle. Even tomorrow, a high-profile engineer has to be a good mathematician, good physicist. It's all a bundle solution that you're giving,
Yeah. You have to be multi-skilled.
Yeah,
we destined to be a market of consumers and not a production hub? The AI race seems to be getting away from us. You kind of answered this already.
Yeah, I answered that. AI race is not getting away from us. Mind it, we are there in the race and very strong.
Sir, what would it take for India to become a semiconductor and design leader?
What is it?
What would it take for India to become an AI leader or semiconductor and design leader?
See, we are already in the semiconductor business. Okay, we are already getting there.
Yeah.
So to become a leader, I think what happens is the edge that we have today, we have a very strong software industry. So what is hardware without software? And what is software without hardware? So we will be very strong in a position to marry the two. We can build software around the chips, and the chips can be built around software. So that marriage is something we can do very easily, because we have the know-how and we are very strong in the software industry. When you say software, it is all the embedded software, the semicon kind of software we're talking about, not pure writing code.
Yeah.
So,
Sir,
we have a point of strength there. Leadership is very difficult to say at this moment. Very difficult to say.
I see. Sir, in the context
of
India's
predictability,
right?
Yeah, we are getting there. We are in that direction. Whether tomorrow we'll be a leader or not, tough to say. And who can you say is a leader?
Like, if let's say two people in a distant country are talking about semiconductors, they would first name the first country that comes to their mind should be India. What would it take for us to reach that position?
Quite some time, because we
20, 30 years or more.
I don't want to give a number because it doesn't make any sense. I'm just tossing a number. That's all. No, I have no basis or data to back up my numbers.
Okay.
If you say why 20 years, why not 30 years? I have no answer. So I don't want to just throw a number.
Yeah.
We are running in the race. We are going in the right direction. The when of it, we'll have to see. Yeah.
So, sir, in the context of India's future in the world of technology, what all can AI embedded engineering gain us? I mean, what future do you see for India? How would it look like? What things do you see happening in India because of that? Because of AI embedded engineering?
See, I think what we are missing out is AI has become a buzzword today. Okay. And say I used to work for a company, a Tata company in Hyderabad called OMC Computers. And that was a technology from an Indian out of Carnegie Mellon University. So we were developing products around his technology. This was a gentleman called Dr. Raj Reddy, who was the director of the AI and Robotics Institute of Carnegie Mellon University. And I'm talking about a story which is 30 years ago.
I see.
So he was an AI and software and robotics expert, guru, as back as 30 years ago. He's still there. He's still doing research around those programs. So he told us once at a business meeting when he had come to Hyderabad for one of our board meetings. I'm talking about 1985. He got the highest civilian award by the President of France called the Legion of Honor. So he had come from France, and we asked him, Raj, what is this honor for? He said, no, you know what? We developed a car which can drive itself. So on one street in Paris, this car was driving by itself along the curb of the road at 20 kilometers per hour, and it stopped at a red light. So the story is 1985, and today we are talking about autonomous cars. So work on this had happened then. So when we are talking
Yeah.
about AI and all that, what does it take to drive by itself? AI, right?
Yeah.
It senses a red light. What is it? Artificial
Yeah.
intelligence. It's
Yes.
telling it to stop. So this evolution
Yeah.
has started. The battle has been going on for years. So it's only getting
Yeah.
evolved and evolved. When we talk about
Yes.
Ubers in California driving without drivers,
Drivers.
self-drive cars, we are talking about AI in action. No? It understands exactly what it needs to do, right?
Yeah.
When you're sending a rocket into outer space, after a point in time, AI takes over. No? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is already there. So today, a lot of hype is being given to something which is already there. So it is actually a 2.0 or 3.0, and it's taking it to the next level now. That's what is happening.
Right.
It's going to get embedded in
Uh,
everything that you do. Yeah.
I see. Um, why did you choose niche areas like design engineering and animation instead of competing with companies like Infosys head on?
Because we were much smaller then, and we wanted to be number one in what we did. So
Right.
there were the TCS which was number one, the Infosys which is number two, there's a Wipro which was number three, the HCL which was number four, and maybe another three or four of them, and I would have been number 10.
Right.
And also ran in the business. What's my value add? What is my differentiator? What do I create?
Right.
So Tata
Right.
Elxsi decided to do something completely different, completely unique. And even today, it is the only company in the country which does something like this. It's a technology powerhouse of the Tata Group today.
Right. And so, how do you keep a team motivated when salaries are delayed and the company is nearing collapse?
Good question. So see, there is a thing that the leader should have. He should have a very high emotional quotient.
Yeah.
Empathy quotient, emotional quotient of the leader should be very high, especially when you're working in an environment which is highly vulnerable. A very fragile environment where you don't know how this company will go. So you have a team of people and you engage with them, and they look up to you as a leader and trust you. When I tell them, hey guys, let's take this company differently, let's take this forward, let us become one or two in the business and do something which nobody else in the world, nobody else in the country is doing. Let's do that. Let's be different. Let's make a difference. So that actually became their mantra. That became their drive. They said, yeah, we have to do something different, and they were saying, let's do it. And so let's do it. I said, will you guys bet on me? Bet on yourselves. If you believe in what I'm saying, stay on and get it done. And honestly, they all stayed on with me. I barely had one or two people leaving the company in the first 3 years when we were going through these turbulent times. It was not easy, but each one was motivated. We ran like a football team, I was not a tennis player. It was a football team where the captain, team, everybody runs, up and down the field. It is not one man show.
Yeah.
So we were all a beautiful team, cohesive team, and we all had that passion and drive to achieve what we had to achieve.
What leadership lessons did you learn from Ratan Tata?
Power of delegation, power of de-alienated control, I must say. He was never a control freak. He would never kind of micromanage, yeah.
I see.
He would delegate. There were occasions when I had a confrontation, mild confrontation with him, saying, he said something, I said no. And then he said, okay, if you believe it so, go ahead. So he bets on you because he's hired you. So he bets on you.
Right.
If you don't perform, if you don't deliver, that's another story. So I think power of delegation, his simplicity, in his leadership style. He again comes down, he doesn't behave as a chairman of Tata Sons when he's talking to the CEO of Tata Elxsi. He comes like a peer, like a friend. Tell me, and he wants to learn from you because every leader knows that he cannot be abreast with technology or abreast with the things
Right.
that are going on. They all learn from other
Right.
people. I used to learn from my colleagues, my team players. They used to learn from me certain things. I used to learn from them other things. Similarly with him also, yeah, why don't you show me? Why don't you show me a demo? Tell me how it works. I want to know. So there's humaneness involved. Na? So once that happens, the relationships become very different.
Right.
And it becomes very familial. The whole bonding becomes very familial.
Sir, we will
See, it's 25
digress to a
years.
past topic 1 second. Yes, sir. Please finish your point.
So it's 25 years since I left the company. And I had this
Yeah.
book launch of mine 3 months ago. And I
Yeah.
asked Tata Alexi, can you send me contact names of people who were in the company when I was there? At least some of them were in Bangalore. They sent me a list of 62 names. And I personally sent them a WhatsApp inviting them to come for the book launch. 2 of them couldn't come for personal reasons. 60 of them turned up. Okay.
Awesome.
Some of them have not spoken for 20 years, 25 years. But they came.
Right.
Yeah. Just to be there,
Yeah.
It's 20 years since I left Cisco. Okay.
Yeah.
2007, I left Cisco. 19 years. Day before yesterday, I got a call from one of my senior directors who was working with me. Called me and said, they've bought 2 books of yours. One for me, one for my wife. And I want to come to your house and get it signed. Can I come over? I said, come tomorrow. That was yesterday. He came at 4 o'clock in the evening, spent 3 hours with me chatting. I signed the books and we connected back. I mean, see, after 19 years.
Yeah.
So relationships matter, bonding matters. You respect each other, for the individual that you are. Yeah, sorry. You asked the question.
So, sir,
You wanted a
digressing to a past topic a little, do Indian roads support the cars of the future? Cars of the future or self-driven cars and all? Can that happen in India?
Very difficult here. I don't personally, if I have an autonomous car, I will not dare to drive it in Bangalore or allow it to
I
drive
see.
me in somewhere in Bangalore. Scary.
I see.
Scary. But see, that's because we do not yet understand the power of the machine.
Right.
So, yeah, once we understand the power of the machine, I'm sure we'll accept it because what was valid 20 years back is not valid today. What is valid today may not be valid 10 years later. So, because of the ignorance of the technology and the power, we'll say, no, Baba, not at all.
All right. Sir, from your experience, what impact did the 1991 reforms have on your sector? Specifically, what more policies could be brought in to improve the current situation of our industries further? Policy-wise.
That time the market, the economy just opened up the market. I could import access to the latest of latest technologies. That was possible. And import duties were all slashed drastically at that point in time. So things became more affordable. And, and around that same time, the software industry, the export industry also helped leveraging that because we could earn more foreign exchange, and these imports were possible. So I think today we are fairly transparent and imports are rather free and liberal today, So access to technology and all that has become so much more easier now. Yeah.
Sir, this is an interesting question. How will self-driving cars benefit in India? I've heard negatives, but I want to hear something else from the guest. Can it benefit in India, or can India benefit from self-driving cars?
So that's why, I think it's a similar question that was asked earlier. Can it be, first of all, used in India? No. So we said we don't know yet because if the technology is advanced enough to manage the Indian, say I can talk Kolkata or Bangalore. If you see, the traffic conditions are so bad, the tension on the driver is very high today.
Right.
Point A to point B, it takes a long time. The traffic jams and the congestion. So if I can just sit back and read the newspaper in the car or browse my emails in the car while the car is driving myself. I'm
Or
very
log
happy.
into office work.
I have, anything. I can be more productive. That 1 hour that was, taking me to drive to office, I have for myself. So that is the advantage that I get, mainly.
Yeah. So what would you advise the current youngsters today when it comes to approaching academics and career?
Academics, I think, don't be a nerd. Be educated well, rather than just stick to your subject, and it should be an all-round education. That is very important. You don't have to come first in class to get a great job. I never came first in class to get a great job. But
Okay.
I think what is very important is you can experiment today. We couldn't experiment so much those days. As far as your career options are concerned, academic options are concerned, you can experiment much more today than earlier. Earlier, you could either be a doctor or an engineer in our time. Today, the professional opportunities are much more for youngsters. Like our son, he wanted to do engineering. So halfway through his engineering, he said, okay, I will do a minor degree in economics. At the end of it, he said economics is better than engineering. And then he went on to do his master's in economics. Today he's a banker and not an engineer. He's very happy. I'm not unhappy at all. So choice options are many. So career options are many. And let your emotions drive your vision. Think about what you wish to do, not what others are telling you what to do. You do what you want to do, what you believe you can do best. We are still under societal pressures. Parents will tell you this is what I want. But discuss with them, be open with them. I think parents are not so rigid as they were earlier.
Yeah, definitely.
So that is important. Yeah, chase your dreams. Chase your dreams.
Yeah. Sir, we have a slightly provocative question here. Are policymakers, especially in the country, equipped well enough to handle the technological acceleration that we are facing today, both domestically and globally?
When you say policymakers, what do you mean exactly?
Politicians, bureaucrats of the entire world and in our country.
See, the politicians need not be equipped to handle technology acceleration. We are very fine.
But they know.
bureaucrats.
Do they know?
And
do they know what to do?
they have to be told. Nobody knows anything. No, everybody has to be advised. Okay. If I am today elected into politics, I may not know. I may not come from that background at all. I may be a fantastic agriculturalist. I could be a great banker, but I may not be I may be a finance biscuit as a minister. I may not know much about technology. So I have seen in the government today, they're very progressive and they hire a lot of private advisors, whether it's economic advisor, technology advisor. I know, colleagues of mine who have worked in the industry for many years, because they happen to be in Delhi, they are advising the government on IT policies. When I was working also, I used to be part of the steering committee for IT in the country. I used to be working on the education policy for the 5-year plan. All those things, they pull in people to help them, pull in people to help them. So that is happening. It is not the politician's job to know everything. And I don't know politics, but I can advise what the country should have. And it's up to the politician to, accept or reject. So, and again, it's very discretionary. One politician is not like another politician. Some may be progressive, some may not be. So we can't draw a generalized line saying this is how they are or they are not.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question for today. On academics, how would you instruct the students of today to become more application oriented and not theory memorizers?
This is purely the academic institute has to, provoke that, not the poor students. If the academic institute says, or the university or the college you're going to wants you to memorize and learn the theories, and that's how you get your marks, you can't do anything else. But if the institute is also asking you to get into the practical aspect and application aspect, like many universities are doing that today, that is the right approach, I think. So the change has to come at the academic level, not at the student level. Yeah, the academic
It's a
university should
related
say,
question.
huh,
Are industries looking to cultivate a culture of apprenticeship by coordinating with educational institutions? Do you have any such examples?
yeah, so many. So many. I'll
Okay.
tell you, lot of industries are participating with universities in
I
joint
see.
development programs, coming and delivering lectures, And for example, last week there's a very big university here called Vellore Institute of Technology in a place
Yeah,
called Vellore
VIT.
in Tamil Nadu, which is about, VIT. And they had they have a multimedia animation, graphics and gaming department. They run a 4-year program in that. And they
I
called
see.
me and asked me to deliver a keynote to all the students in this area and what the future is, what they should invest in terms of time, in terms of subjects. So they call industry people all the time. And incubation centers for startups are set up by industry in the academic institutions. Companies like Cisco are setting up labs in universities, networking labs. So you get trained over there, then you can come out and be proficient in those products and technologies. That's already happening. May not be all the universities, but
Right.
quite a bit,
Okay. So related to this, I have one last question from my side. Do you see a future where the Coursera model of learning becomes the norm, that every university has a few lectures put up on their website and everyone sees them? There's no brick and mortar structure except for actual STEM related experiments and stuff where you have to go to the lab. Can education in India become mainstream like that? And will that help in keeping the costs of education in control?
It's nothing to do with cost of education. I think education, like I said, it's a full 360, where there is a ecosystem of students, ecosystem of teachers. And I'm not going back into the Guru Shishya Parampara kind of style, but that whole environment creates that embodiment of knowledge that is being disseminated. Everything is remote. Nobody knows who's your classmate, where's the fraternity building tomorrow, who's my alumni, I don't care, who's my professor, I don't care. What is that? Yeah, I mean, that's not.
What
maybe
if, sir,
I'm a little old school, but I don't agree with that.
Are you saying that cannot happen on social media? Like they have their own WhatsApp groups and stuff and meet up maybe once a month, but they save up the money of running a full infrastructure in the college, paying regular salaries of professors and running the buildings and administration, etc. How about cutting costs there and saving the students some money?
No, it can be done. See, what you're saying is theoretically not impossible at all. It is possible. If large corporations, IT companies can run with employees sitting at home all the time, which has happened, right? And today, even today, they expect you to come only 2 or 3 days a week, and they're able to, not see any drop in their business. That is possible. It's a proven model.
Right.
So if it's possible for companies to make profits and generate revenue, why not, students to learn and teachers to teach? So it's a proven model. Only thing you're translating it down to education. What happened during COVID time? Everybody was learning remotely. So it was possible.
Yeah.
But then what happens?
But you are saying that
you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that will be lost. You are saying that cannot be substituted
the whole
somehow.
the ecosystem will get lost. Everything will get lost.
Right.
The social fabric of student, teachers, alumni.
Right.
The network. That is important for your career. Remember that also. Because first thing, if I go for a job interview and the hiring managers, if I tell him I'm from IIT Kharagpur, he said, "Oh, I too. Which batch are you?" Immediately that rapport comes. Like when we started this conversation, you said, I came and played at IIT Kharagpur Spring Fest.
Right.
It immediately, wakes me up,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, then. Thank you, sir. I'll contact you later for a Bengali podcast.
Anytime.
And we'll discuss all this in Bengali as well.
Oh my God, you're going to give me a challenge now.
Yeah. This will be fun. Thanks a lot for coming on my podcast, sir. See you soon.
Thanks. Thank you also for
Good night,
hosting me.
guys.
Bye.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Good night, guys. Bye.
যদি সবাই ফিরে যায় ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায় যদি গহন পথে যাওয়ার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায় তবে পথের কাটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে যদি আলো না ধরে ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা আলো না ধরে যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে তবে বজ্রানলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা জলরে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা জলরে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলরে একলা চলো